white
Prevention is better than the cure.
shouldn't exist here.
No, not exist. I'm not pro ethnic cleansing. I'm not pro.
No.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He said, they will not touch you anything until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He will permit it.
No. If you have to take precaution, you have to take precaution.
No, it's just that I don't want
It's sunnah. To take medicine sunnah.
That's what my friends got.
So you don't want them to but basically, you're okay as long as the non-whites are in the minority. You're okay with that?
I don't want them to be like 49%.
Yeah, of course.
I think Nigeria should be for the Nigerians, by the way. Like, just in the same way the English should be for the English.
You want England to be what it used to be.
That's a lovely way to put it.
What, you mean colonialists?
No, I mean,
Are you one of those people?
So you don't want them to come here, but it's okay for them to go to other countries,
No, I'm not
steal their wealth,
Okay, hang on.
butcher the people, rape the people.
You want to do
But as long as this country is okay.
Wait a minute.
What about South Africa?
What about South Africa? What do you want to say about South
They're
Africa?
not from there.
I think we're all over the place. Let's stick to one
Not
topic.
from where?
The people, the whites.
You mean the Dutch, the Afrikaners living in South
But
Africa? Yeah, they're not.
what's
Hang on,
what's
so
wrong?
many questions,
Yeah,
people.
exactly. What's wrong with having a variety of people in your country?
Hang on a minute. Can I just respond to your
Yeah,
question?
sure.
Right. So, because this is a very good. I'm happy you said that. Right. You acknowledge, right? There is something, instinctively in you that colonialism is something that is wrong. It is wrong to go into someone's land and to basically, make them either a minority or dominate them when you have no
By
connection
force.
to the culture there.
By force.
Sure.
No. There's a big difference between
Okay.
immigration and by force. So, for example, if somebody invades a foreign country and takes over that country,
Yeah.
yes, and not only takes it over, basically sucks all its resources,
Yeah.
kills his people,
Yeah.
rapes them,
Okay.
basically
Wait a minute.
turn them into chattel, and then,
That's not what happened.
well, really?
Yeah,
have you
this idea-
looked into the?
I have actually. So the idea that we
So they just walked into a country and said,
hang on,
can we rule you, please?
Allow me.
And they allowed them, didn't they?
No, I'm not saying that we deny them sovereignty. Absolutely. Like,
Okay.
I would never.
So what's
I don't
force?
advocate
What's
colonialism.
force involved?
Hang on a minute.
Oh, you don't?
You mentioned resources. Okay. This idea that we plundered the resources from
You
colonized
did?
nations.
Africa
and
and
we,
Asia?
And we made
No,
them
you
poor. That's actually nonsense. That's no, it's not. It comes from a Marxist theory actually called world systems theory, which says that there's the core, there's the West, which is endlessly exploiting nations, and then there's the periphery,
Do you-
who are always the
okay, do you-
exploited, unfortunate third worlders, and it's nonsense.
Are you not aware of for example,
No,
you know that
African. Why did colonized countries GDP? Why did the GDP of colonized countries go up under colonialism, under colonial rule, and then when decolonization began, GDP just goes whoa, not rising anymore.
No, but they
Now-
didn't.
now the Europeans
Wait.
aren't there to
I like the way you put the GDP went up, but who benefited from that GDP?
Not us.
Not you, really?
Yeah.
So wait a minute.
It
So
made
you're
us poor, running the Indian.
wait. You're telling me that the British actually went out, they colonized the country at a loss. Is that what you're saying to me?
I'm not saying they went out to do it a loss. I'm saying it ended up being that way. Of course they didn't go. Oh yeah, let's make ourselves poor.
No, but did they benefit from it or not?
I would say very minimally. I would say
Minimally? Really?
Basically.
I don't think you have read the history.
I think I have actually.
Okay, so
That's fine.
So what you're saying is
I
that
recommend you look at Alternative Hypothesis blog.
if you look at the East India Company, how it actually ended up becoming,
Okay, the EIC is not Britain. Sorry, I interrupted you. Please.
it's not Britain?
EIC is not
Where was it
Britain.
based? Where was the headquarters
It's a
based?
corp, that doesn't matter. It's a
No.
corporation.
Where was their headquarters based?
It doesn't matter.
It
where
does
was
matter.
based. It doesn't. It doesn't. That's like saying.
So let me get this right.
So,
If a
Google
company,
hang on, is Google the? Okay, I'll let him
yeah,
talk.
if a company is based and registered in England,
Yes.
it is not an English company.
No, it's not England. I'm not. You
Ordained by the
It's not England. So where is it?
You said-
No. Of course, it's not England, but it's an English company.
I know. All I said.
The
is-
name
I said-
itself says East
I said
India.
the EIC is not equivalent, is not tautologically equivalent to the British Empire. That was my
I
claim.
didn't say it was the British Empire.
Okay,
It
right.
colluded with the British Empire.
Yes, that's true.
And you're saying that doesn't matter.
I know, I'm saying...
So if you collude with a terrorist, are you not a terrorist?
That's depends.
It's a good analogy, do you not think?
It's a
You are
reasonable
you
analogy.
no no it's a realistic analogy because that is exactly what happened during 9/11. You know why
In
they
what way?
you know why they
Yeah.
invaded Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Because
I'm against it.
they thought
I'm
that
against it.
Osama bin Laden actually was given shelter by Afghan people.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's the reason they had every right to destroy Afghanistan. Just for that reason.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying the East India Company, which colluded with the empire, with the king, and then they actually overtook India. So they went on the pretext of trading with India.
Yeah.
Yes. At that time, India was basically India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. All these
I'm aware,
countries
I'm aware,
were
yeah.
one country.
Yeah.
Yes. And then they plundered that country to its bones, basically. And
That's actually not really true, though.
well, you go look it up, and you'll see the reason why. This country, which had the highest GDP before the colonialists came, yes, they actually.
no, okay,
let
sorry.
me finish.
Let
Let me
me
finish.
finish. I apologize.
And by the time they left, they had actually plundered the country to such an extent that they are suffering to this day for what happened to them during the colonialist period.
Okay.
Now, the people of India did suffer. Do you not agree?
Of course
Yes,
they did. No one denies that.
Yes, and under the British rule, yes, they did so. So this colonialism is a very bad thing. It is not something that I'm not saying the countries did not benefit from it. Of course, there was some benefit, yes, but I think they lost more than they benefited. For example,
You could argue that.
the benefits I say is like maybe they had this transport system, postal system, education system. These things were instilled, and I think they still are proud of those. So if you go to India and places like that, they're still proud of their Victorian schools and so on.
It's
Because
the
that-
railways that everyone like me makes the argument.
but that was a good thing that happened
Yeah.
because of. But do you know why those things were there in the first place? It was to benefit the Raj.
Yes,
So
yes.
the postal system benefited the Raj, the transportation system, and also the education system.
Fine.
However, the majority of the people who lived in poverty,
Impoverished.
yeah, who were impoverished by the Raj. Yes, they are. I think their progeny is still suffering to this day because of what happened to them during the Raj. Now you tell me which of what I just said you disagree with.
All right. There was a lot of. Okay, so
Yeah.
thank you. So I apologize for interrupting you.
No,
earlier,
that's
so-
fine.
So all right. So the claim, just because you quickly said the first thing about GDP, which GDP was so high before before the Raj.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was.
and then it just goes down. That's actually only sort of half true. So GDP as a percentage of the world, like proportion of world GDP, was yes much higher before percentage of
Of
world
India,
GDP.
yeah?
Of
Yeah.
India. Before colonization, okay? What you're not taking into account is that actually other world economies, so like it still grew, okay? Like as a proportion of the world GDP, it shrunk. But as GDP, like as an absolute, it still increased. So the reason it went down as a proportion is because
Why?
the Japanese economy went like that, and the Chinese economy went like that, and European economies were still, shooting up. So India becomes less proportionately of world GDP, not because they got done over by Britain, but just because loads of other global economies were doing much better, right? Is that fair to say?
No, it's not, because the manufacturing did not take place. For example, cotton was produced in India.
Okay.
Yes, most of the cotton was actually exported to Britain. So the clothes were manufactured and then sold back to the Indians at a much higher price. So instead of benefiting the people, like the reason I'm using colonialism,
Yeah, that's
because
I'm glad you are.
because before the Muslims, before the United Nations, the Muslims used to conquer countries as well. Yes, so I'm not saying that it was only the prerogative, it was only something that the British were involved in. Many other nations, yes, they used to go and they used to take over
And
a
that's how it
country.
was.
But
That's
that was
how it works.
exactly. That was the norm. That was the norm. Because
Mohammed Hijab put this in a really nice way. He said this existed in a sort of climate of what international relations
Yes,
scholars
yes.
call realism. This is the realism,
Yeah.
the realists' paradigm of how global.
so if you were
relations work.
stronger than another country, they would just take a flag and hoist it in that country,
Mike
and they
makes
say,
right.
"That's
You know,
mine."
this
Yeah,
is the
Mike
Melian
was.
dialogue.
Yes.
This is it.
However, if you look at the history wherever Muslims went,
Yeah.
that country actually prospered. So
I'm saying the same for the
so when
British.
they went
I'm
to
saying the same
when
for
they
the
went to
British.
Spain or
Yeah.
when they went to India, it actually prospered, and they did not take things back to that country to benefit their country.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So this was when you look at history, this is what I see. But when you look at wherever the Europeans went, whether it's the Portuguese or the Spanish or the English, yes, they actually completely sucked most of the resources of those countries, and they did not benefit much the local communities. And they destroyed look at most of Africa and Asia today. The reason they were impoverished is because the resources.
No, that's not true.
Africa and Asia, they have got really good resources in terms of like gold and diamond, and minerals and I don't know, iron ore, everything.
They've also got,
everything you
they're
can
also
think of.
genetically different from us.
What's
Are
that
you,
got
are
to-
you one of those
what's that
people,
got to do
wait,
with
wait,
this?
do you think, wait, are you one of those people who think
Are they
that
humans?
if it hasn't been to of course they're humans. Are you one of
So
those
how
people-
are they genetically
wait,
different?
what do you mean? How are black people genetically different from white people?
What, they got more melanin?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
So-
than you.
Okay. So, yeah,
How
of
is
course
that genetically different? Do they have same genes or different genes?
Wait, you think that skin differences in skin color, you don't think that's genetic?
No, I'm saying in terms of being a human,
Yeah.
how does it differentiate them?
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Like you are a human, a black man is a human.
Oh no, of course it doesn't make. Of course, the skin pigmentation.
Okay,
doesn't
so
make
what do you
any
mean?
less a human.
Why did you bring genetically different? Just by
Because-
skin pigmentation, that's it?
No, it's obvious. I'm saying that's one example of a genetic difference.
Are
because
you one
it's
of those
obvious.
people who consider black people to be less intelligent than you?
I think that there are IQ differences between racial groups. Of course, not all black people. That's a stupid thing. Thomas Sowell is smarter than me. Okay, Neil deGrasse Tyson is smarter than me.
Okay.
Plenty of white people are stupider than plenty of black people. That's
I'm glad you say that.
of course. Yeah. Like,
So let's not discriminate them based on
I'm
their
not dis-
genes,
I'm not
because
dis- that's not discrimination. I'm sorry.
even the skin color, color.
I'm not discriminating against any. Well, okay, discrimination is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, you discriminate every time. You discriminate on who you wish to talk to. I've discriminated.
I don't actually.
No, yes you do. I discriminated against everyone else right now in favor of talking to you because I could be talking to someone over there.
Yeah, but you did it by volition. I didn't force you, did I?
No, I'm not saying it's forced. I'm saying it's a good thing. Okay.
So,
that's
I wouldn't- by the way-
willing discrimination.
By the way, choosing your interlocutor is not something I consider as discrimination. It's a choice, not based on your skin color or that you are
not racial.
of a different culture.
I didn't say it was.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Discrimination actually implies that.
No, it doesn't.
If I choose to
It
talk
has
to wait,
connotations today.
for example, if I choose not to talk to someone who's obnoxious, would you consider that discrimination?
Yes.
Well,
That's
that's-
in a good way.
But
I wouldn't.
How can it be discrimination if I don't want to talk to a fool?
Of course, because you discriminate against people who are less intelligent. Why would you not?
No. A fool necessarily not less
fine,
intelligent.
a fool, yeah, sure,
okay?
okay,
He might be obnoxious for many other reasons.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I discriminate against unpleasant people every
Exactly.
day. Everyone
But
does.
I wouldn't use the term discrimination.
I would. I guess that's a semantic
Yeah.
difference.
It's basically your choice to speak to someone that you feel comfortable with. That's
for me,
all it is.
For me, that's
it's
what
not discrimination.
is.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, I think we're defining discrimination.
Discrimination is like, for example, if it's something prejudicial, then I would consider that to be discriminatory. Now,
I
if you do
agree.
not have any logical reason to talk to someone, then that would be discriminatory.
Yeah.
Yes, but I wouldn't consider not talking to someone who is obnoxious or who basically swears all the time, or who might be smoking in front of me when I don't like someone smoking in front of me or blowing smoke in my face or something like that. I wouldn't call that discrimination.
I would. And in fact, you say, oh, I wouldn't. I think.
Then we differ in our
Yeah, we're
definition
differing in our semantics, but I also say the
of
same
our
about
definition.
prejudice. Okay,
Yeah.
I think that prejudice.
Anyway, sorry, where were we?
Prejudice is not a bad thing, you know. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
So what about-
you brought this
what-
up because I mentioned
what-
genes,
what-
and I just said
Yeah.
it's not a racist thing to say that. Of course, different cultures are like different peoples with different genes are going to build different cultures. Of course they are. Like, why would you have any reason to think otherwise? Why would you have any reason to think that Africans? who are
But isn't that
genetically
positive?
different-
Let's say you bring all these good things in a different cultures and then you work together. Wouldn't that be something
Well,
better?
in the same country, in the same
sa-
geographical
yeah,
country. No, that's
might be in
not
the same city.
No, oh, I don't want that.
And why is that?
Look at London.
What's
probably
wrong with
hard to
London?
see. London, it's where.
Look at the NHS.
The native.
How many white people run it?
What do you mean? Look at the NHS.
What I'm saying is that if you remove all the ethnic minorities from there,
I don't wanna
the
do that.
NHS will probably collapse. And so is the transport system
Yes,
here.
I think the NHS.
What I'm
could
saying
do
is
with a
that
lot of reforming.
The NHS and the transport system here, and many other systems in this country,
yeah.
I think they work quite well when we integrate all the different cultures together. They bring in their own specialities. They bring in their own variety, I would say, and that is a good thing.
I think it's not. So let me just clarify. Nobody.
Don't forget the restaurants.
Yeah.
The English people love the Indian
the food,
curry.
the food, multiculturalism. We can have curry while our culture's dying.
How many days? Yeah, how many days are you going to have fish and chips for? By the way, do you like curry?
I love curry.
There you go.
Back to topic. Yeah, sorry. So I should just say, nobody in the nationalist movement that I know of denies that, like, foreign people or foreign-born people, okay, work hard.
Are you a nationalist?
No, not only work hard, bring benefit to the system.
Some do, not all.
What do you mean some? Well, I would say the same thing with the English people then.
Yeah,
Some English people benefit, some don't.
I would say
I would say like this about every person.
Okay,
I can say.
so I would say, so regarding colonialism, generally the trend is
Are we going back to colonialism?
economic, just briefly, economic benefit, psychologically awful, okay? Because you're robbing.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
you're
whoa.
robbing
Not
Indians
just
of their property.
psychologically, physically. They were tortured during the slavery
Fine,
period.
fine.
Okay?
I would say that ultimately.
They
changes
used to
that
take
perspective.
boatloads of people from Africa
Yes.
all over the world, and you don't just say psychologically, my friend.
Fine,
Okay?
physically. I'm not trying to downplay. I'm just
No,
saying
no,
that
but
I
you
believe-
did actually. You did downplay.
I
You
don't
tried
think I
to
did.
whitewash it.
I didn't try to whitewash it. That's
Okay, slavery was bad.
Whitewash. Right. No, I'm saying ultimately when you torture someone, you beat them. Why is that bad? It's because it has ultimately. I guess you could distinguish between. the
All
two
I'm
of
saying
them.
is that what's wrong with working together? That's all I'm saying. What's wrong with working together?
What's wrong with working together with everyone in their own lands? What's wrong with trading between people? What's wrong with working together?
Yeah, I have no
as a
problem
world?
with that. Trading
Okay.
with people,
So why can't
working
we-
together.
so why can't we
I'm
do it in
saying
our own countries?
why not work together in the same geographic location?
Because if we
now
carry
that
on-
we have
because
now
if we
that globalization has gone global,
Yeah.
why not?
Because why? Because if we carry on working together at the
Yeah.
same rate that we currently are, then soon enough there's going to be no more English people who will be able to work to offer what they breed more babies.
Good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Good point.
Absolutely.
The Greek
I
has got a good point.
By the way, I don't have anything against any foreign person. I blame my own government completely.
No,
Like,
no,
it's
no.
not-
Why
It's not
only
a prejudice.
Wait. No, no.
I
Why?
know for birth rates.
So
right
you,
now.
so you're saying English people who decide to have only maybe 2 children or 1 child, do you think that's the government's fault? How?
That's okay. No, I should say not the current government's fault. I should say.
No, no.
I should say-
Even the past government. How is that fault?
I would say.
Did somebody force them to do that?
Not forced, but I would say, for example, the introduction of no-fault divorce in the 1960s.
Sorry, no
No-fault divorce.
fault divorce.
Yeah, because people when you're married and especially when
Is
you're
that
religious.
is that a thing? You can divorce someone for no fault of theirs?
It's more of a legal term. It's just one example. I'm saying.
No, but
measures-
I'm asking, is that a literal thing or?
Essentially it makes divorce a much easier thing to do.
Yeah, but you cannot just go to the court of law and say I want a divorce and I give no reason. I think they have to give a reason,
No,
right?
no,
At least a reasonable reason.
It's more okay. That's like an extreme version of it, but it's much easier than it was before. Let's
Okay.
say. Okay.
Okay,
So
fair
like
enough.
measures like that, which are basically also the kind of I would say the kind of attack on Christianity culturally. It's as people have strived to make
Christianity doesn't let you divorce at all, unless you committed adultery.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying.
Do you agree with that?
It depends how you interpret Christianity. I'm not here to have a theological.
No,
debate.
but you
I'm
believe in
saying-
the Bible, right?
Sort of.
So you're not a Christian then?
Well.
Yes, well, sort of.
You can call me what you want. I don't care.
No, I don't want to call you anything. I want you to define yourself.
I'm just somebody who believes.
Are
that
you
there
a
is-
Christian, sir?
I'm someone who believes that there is a higher being that we call God, and I believe that the Christian conception of that is one of the most reasonable ways to interpret that. And I like the fact that my culture is historically Christian, but I also recognise the contributions that pagan culture has given us as well. And I have the deepest respect for people who have a conception of.
No, it's not
God
about
as
defining
Odin.
other people. I'm asking, how do you define yourself?
I define myself as a weird sort of
Sort of.
fusion, a weird sort of fusion, a blend of kind of Christianity and paganism.
All right.
That's the short answer. Okay, many of us, struggle with religious issues.
No. If you're not sure about
we can't all be,
if you're not, look, if you're
rooted
not
in ourselves like you
if you-
Muslims,
if- No. There are many Muslims who might be confused as well.
true.
But most of them at least know the basics. Like for example, if you do not worship
I know
one
the
God
basics.
and you submit to one God, or you basically commit shirk, like
Yeah.
you associate others with God.
Yeah.
This basic they know. Okay,
yeah.
so when
I know the
so when
basics
I
of
ask someone,
fundamental
are you a Muslim, and they say yes, and then I say, hold on, but you also believe in Jesus to be God, then I don't consider
course.
you, but based on the rule of the Quran, that you are a Muslim because you just contradicted the Quran.
Sure, but
But I'm sure the Christians will judge you in the same way.
They will, absolutely will. I'm sure.
That's the reason I asked you, what do
I'm
you
sure
think?
I'm a complete heretic, going to hell in the eyes of the Catholic Church. Okay. I'm
All
not, and
Well, the
I'm
Catholics are under the cattle of fish, but
Burn the witch.
so yeah, I mean, look,
That's a
when
digression.
you talk about cultural diversity, I see there is a lot of benefit.
Okay,
we
yes,
can
that's what we're
we
talking
can benefit from each other, and this has happened throughout.
Cultural diversity.
Yeah, we have seen this everywhere around the world today. Yes, so you go to any country, I think
actually-
most of them today, the reason they have come to accepting cultural diversity as opposed to having just a mono ethnicity.
Okay.
Yes, it's,
No, most cultures that aren't most non-European countries are actually not reaping the benefits of multiculturalism right now. Why? Because they prefer to have their
I'll
own
give you.
country for their own people.
I'll give you one country.
Okay.
Singapore.
Sure, you can. I'm not saying everyone.
I think
okay,
they've benefited a lot. This is a country, small
see, this is-
country,
this is a-
and so you don't say there's no countries. There are many examples I can give you.
I'm sure
but
you
cannot.
I'm sure you could give a
cannot-
dozen now. I'm
okay.
saying.
So you give me a country which has benefited just by excluding anyone except their own ethnicity. Go on. I've given you one. You give me one.
Well, it's not quite like this, but
Why not? You should be able to give me at least one example.
I will, but sort of Israel, like.
What? Israel has cultural diversity?
Yeah,
what do you mean?
Cultural diversity.
No, but they do.
Yeah.
Look, the Jews, they might be a race, yes,
Yeah.
but they come from Russia, they come from all different
Yeah.
places in the world. So don't say it's just the Jews in Israel.
No, but they
in
are-
fact, the
no.
Jews in Israel are probably a minority.
Okay.
The original
To say,
ethnic.
I disagree. Yeah, I disagree with
Yeah.
you saying that some Jews are Russian. That's
not some,
really.
loads.
No, I
They
don't
come from
really-
Ukraine, from Russia.
No,
you probably know.
No, I think
yes?
I think if you're Jewish, you are really Israeli. You might have family that have settled in Russia or Britain or
Okay,
America or
let's
Germany.
define the term Jewish. Are you talking racially?
There's different kinds
It's
of
different-
Jews.
different
So
kinds.
there are
Yeah,
atheists.
yeah,
there are atheist Jews as well.
Yeah, there's
yes, you know that.
Of course.
Now,
Karl Marx was one.
now wait a minute. What do you mean by they have benefited? How?
So who benefited? Sorry.
Israel.
Israel. Because you gave that as an example.
how have Israel benefited
Yeah.
from
it's
being,
in a state of war
from
today.
being-
How is it benefited them?
Okay, it's in a state of war because it's still a very young country and people are still pissed off with the way that they got hold of that country. But I'm saying they have.
When did Israel? When was it formed?
When was it re-established in 1948?
Yeah. When was Pakistan established?
Same yeah.
Same time.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's
Is
still-
Pakistan in a state of war?
It's not in a state of war, but it's hardly a harmonious little paradise right
Well,
now.
any country. I mean, harmony is like subjective
serious
now.
tensions
Okay. There's tension. I'm not saying there's no tension. There's
Yeah.
tension between here and Ireland for some time. Does it make it like in a state of war?
not on the
No,
same
it's not.
scale,
I don't think it's comparable. Like the
Really,
situation in
like the
Kashmir,
I would say
for
like the
example.
IRA coming here and
Kashmir is
and
really
causing a
a
lot
big
of
deal.
terrorism.
yes.
I don't think there was
I
any
think it's
tension.
wo- I
Seriously.
think it's worse in
No,
Pakistan.
no one's saying
I think
it, but there's
more
no
conflict.
tension.
Well, have you been to Pakistan, my friend?
No, I haven't.
Well, maybe you should visit it sometime. Okay. Anyway,
So
I'm
if
not
I
saying.
haven't been,
I'm
I
saying.
can't know
I'm
what
saying there are
goes
many
on.
countries out there which are what you say young countries, and they are actually quite well off. In terms not only in terms of monetary or financially, I mean in terms of diversity, in terms of as successful countries, there are quite a few.
Okay.
Look up countries which were formed after that.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, let me respond?
But anyway,
to that
Israel
then?
was a bad example. Any other country?
No, wait, hang on. Let me turn to the example of a culture, an old country which is, multicultural. Because the United States, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Trump's-
I guess a young country on sort of global standards, right?
Still raining, yeah.
But yeah, drizzling. So you could say, oh, look at America. They're like,
Oh, America is what?
anyone
250 years old? How old is it?
76 is when it was founded, right? So
Something, yeah, not that old.
So you could say, oh, look at America. America has people coming, from all over the world, right? It's got people. You can go there.
Have they not benefited?
Land of the free. Well, okay. So here's the interesting thing. Let me
Go on.
say this, right? So are they doing amazingly right now? Are they? I mean, they're a global
What is this?
superpower.
Exactly.
Right? Yes, but if you look actually at the net budget effects of people who are not the original, sort of European settlers, it actually, do you know how, like, they'd be hundreds of billions of dollars richer if they basically didn't have a bunch of migrant leeches or children. of
Hold
migrant
on.
leeches.
Those Europeans were migrant leeches.
Oh, no. So we're playing this game. Okay, we're playing this game. Lovely.
Who does America belong to? Before the Europeans came there as colonialists.
Okay. I'm very glad you say this.
Oh,
Right,
yeah,
let me
yeah.
say this,
Who did
right.
it belong to?
Let me.
And where are they today?
Well, they're still-
You remember the example I gave you that wherever they go, they don't benefit the local people.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the Native Americans have actually literally been wiped out. Yes? The same
No,
thing
well, no,
happened in
they haven't. There are
Australia.
still Native Americans
Same
there.
thing happened in Australia.
No, they haven't.
Yes?
I've
the
seen
ethnic
Native
minorities,
Americans, and I've seen
they
Aboriginal
became the
people, but
minorities.
Okay, you just said they've been literally wiped out. They haven't
What?
literally wiped out.
When I say literally means they became the minority in their own country.
Okay, no, you said literally wiped out, implying it was.
So what
genocide.
you're suggesting shouldn't happen to your country, you actually did to other countries.
Okay, no, there is a difference.
When I say you, I mean Europeans.
Yeah,
okay.
so,
You know what I mean?
Okay, right. There is a difference between arriving in a piece of land where people have not established.
I like the way you said arriving.
Hang on. Fine, settling, colonizing.
Oh, they just came
Fine, colonizing.
peacefully
No, fine,
on
say
a
it.
boat.
Okay, most of them
With
actually.
roses.
Actually, most interactions.
With a peace
hang
pipe.
on, most interactions were peaceful, actually, but fine. Okay, right, fine. Call it colonizing.
my.
Call it violently. I don't know, whatever. War.
Were the natives not killed?
Of course.
In big numbers.
Of course.
In millions.
In big
No,
numbers.
not diseases.
Yes,
In-
diseases.
No.
in big-
They brought the diseases.
In big numbers.
They brought the diseases as well.
Natives died
In
of
big numbers,
diseases.
but not as big numbers as everyone likes to say. Okay.
No, I'm not saying that.
Because people say, oh, it was a Native American genocide. Why then did the population only decline by 0.22% each year? Okay, that doesn't sound like a genocide to me.
Wait. You're saying that these people, they came there peacefully? They grabbed the land
No,
and
I
they
didn't
just
say
settled
that.
there?
I said many. I'm not sure about most. I don't have the data to say that. I'm saying many interactions were peaceful. Now there were individual examples
Many
of
interactions,
genocide.
but most were not peaceful.
I'm not sure if you could say most.
I would say most.
I'd have to check that.
The
for
fact
you.
that
Yeah,
the
you
Native
could say
Americans
that, but
today are a minority in their own continent. I would say continent,
all right.
because both North America and South America, both of them, they did not have a white European race
Yeah.
existing before they were colonized. Do you agree with that?
Ish.
What do you mean if it's?
Right. So you're saying.
So you're saying
they're
they
wiped
existed
out.
before? No, I'm not talking about wipe out here. I'm just asking, in terms of population,
Yes.
were the white Europeans there before they colonized those countries?
Well, actually, the salutarian hypothesis says that they might have been.
But I don't want might be. I want.
Well,
facts.
I don't care.
I want facts.
That's what a hypothesis is.
No, don't give
Sorry.
me speculations. Give me facts.
I can't. Some people have a hypothesis that they weren't. Some people have the hypothesis.
Well,
that they
many
were.
people have hypotheses that are lizards walking amongst us.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I know. So,
I'm going to believe that. Don't give me speculations. Give me facts.
You're giving me speculation as well.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm not.
You're saying maybe white people were never in America until they came.
No, I
until the
said
Middle Ages.
about the numbers. Remember?
I don't know.
In
what the
numbers,
were.
they were not really. Maybe I don't know. Maybe somebody settled before Columbus came there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
Right.
maybe the Arabs went there, because there are many Arabs who claim that they actually went to South America and
Okay, but that's
to North
obviously
America
wrong.
as well.
That's
Well,
not-
you can't say obviously. That is their theory.
No, I can, because if you look at the salutarian hypothesis and you look at the evidence that it has,
Hypothesis.
it says.
Again, hypothesis. Give me facts, bro.
See,
We're not talking about science
I think
theories here. We're talking about history.
I wonder if you-
history cannot be just hypothesis. When you have history,
do you
give me
understand?
facts.
Do you understand that you can apply the scientific method to history?
You can, but it's speculation.
Cool. But you could broaden the definition to speculation and say that you could say that the idea that the Earth
Why
is
are
round is
why are you
speculation.
arguing about a point which is quite clear, that before the Europeans came there, before they came to North and
yes,
South
white
America,
power, yes.
they were. Even if I accept
say
your
so.
hypothesis,
Okay.
they probably were a small
you say
fraction,
so.
a small minority
I'm
in
saying
those
I don't know. I'm
continents.
saying I don't know.
Okay,
To be
anyway.
fair, in fairness, I didn't come here,
Yeah.
prepared
So,
for debate. Okay,
they were
yeah.
colonialists there.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
came
sure,
as colonialists,
sure,
and that's
sure,
fact.
sure.
And the local population was almost wiped out. Okay, I wouldn't say all of them, but almost wiped out.
Yeah.
And the reason that
Largely
happened is
through disease.
because of violence that they brought along,
Okay.
and the diseases they brought along with them.
Mostly diseases, and also
Who brought the diseases?
Of course, us. And
Exactly.
let's not forget the tribes killing each other as well. Okay.
No,
It's
look.
not like they were all living peacefully. And then
I didn't say they were.
then
Did
the
I say
evil
that?
Europeans showed up.
That's a straw man argument. I never said that.
No,
Every
I'm saying
every
that's something you
country
didn't
have their
factor
own
in. It's not a
internal
straw man. It's
problems,
not a straw man.
but it doesn't mean you go and occupy that land and then wipe out the local
right,
population
okay.
just because you can go and thrive in there. By the
Okay.
way, what was the point you made that became there?
Yeah, I was about to
sorry.
say, so there is a difference, right, between fine. You want to say violently settling, okay?
Colonizing. Use the term. Use the correct term. Colonizing.
I think the correct
it's
term is
literally
arriving.
colonizing.
Arriving is not an incorrect term. They arrived. There's a difference between arriving in a
Colonizing.
geographic territory, okay, right, where states, form.
Why
states
the
have
euphemism?
not
I
been-
don't know why.
It's not a euphemism.
It is arriving when they colonize them
Because-
by force.
They arrived. Did they not land in boats?
Yes,
okay,
they did
on Ameri-
for a purpose. They went
Yeah.
there with an army for a purpose.
Okay.
So imagine this: if a country, let's say Malta, tomorrow comes here with a shipload of soldiers,
Yeah.
would you say they are arriving to England?
I would say, yeah. In a way, they are.
I hope the immigration officers agree with me.
I say that about when immigrants come here. I say foreigners are arriving in our land, okay, and
With
making
an
it
army. Did
sustainable.
you not hear what I said?
Yeah, it's kind of an invasion right now, but
Seriously, you're not serious about it. If
do you know what's happening in Greece
if
right
they
now?
came with an army, it would be an invasion, literally.
Yeah.
It would.
Yeah.
So don't just say arriving. They invaded or they colonized.
okay, but this is
That's
not,
a better term.
Okay, no, but this is not an invasion though.
Which one?
The America. That's not an invasion. invasion.
So they didn't come with boatloads of soldiers.
It's not an invasion.
Did they come with soldiers or not?
They came, yes, they would have had
For
military
what?
personnel with them.
To have a tea party in America?
Not for an invasion.
Then for what then?
I know what you're trying to do.
Well, I know for what they came, and everybody knows.
Yes, to colonize
this is
them.
axiomatic
I'm saying
in the
you need to
the history
draw
of
a dichotomy
colonialism.
between colonization and invasion. Anyway, my point, if I could make it before
Please
we get
do, yeah.
caught up on any more semantics. So there is a difference, and I'm going to just use his words so that we can settle this again.
Colonizing.
And think of this just so that you can not accuse me of downplaying. Think of the most violent word. There's a difference between colonizing or invading or massacring or whatever, between coming onto and colonizing, land, a geographical territory, right?
With an army.
Where it's not really an army, but fine. Okay, where a formal nation state has not been established. Okay, there's a difference between that and arriving. Arriving again. I'm not down.
Oh, what do you mean formal nation state?
Okay, we can discuss nation
Are you
state.
saying it wasn't the United States of America at that time?
No.
Then what do you mean formal nation
I'm
state?
saying
These people who were there, they had a sovereign land, a sovereign country.
No, they didn't.
They might not have labeled it as you wished, but there is
It's not
severally.
to do with what I wish. They didn't have sovereignty.
Their territories
They
were.
weren't sedentary. They moved around. It's not. They didn't have the concept of this is our country. We're going to. These are our borders. We're going to protect them. They didn't think like that. Well, they're natives because they existed in the land. Just that's what the native population is.
Natives stay.
No, they were.
Yeah. Okay. Of course they stay within the North America because they can't go out to sea. I'm saying they move around within. They don't have settled community. Just in the same way that we don't call I guess you could say Europeans all natives of the same country.
I think
just
you're
because
trying to somehow. This is anachronistic because you're trying to. Think that these people should have been like the United Nations
I'm not
of
saying
states.
that. No,
The United Nations has established clear borders between countries. This is kind of anachronistic from your.
I'm against the UN, so I'm not playing by their rules.
So are you some sort of non-compliant citizen? Because if you're against the United Nations, then you must be against many other things in this country itself.
I'm against many.
Assalamu alaikum brothers and sisters. Hope this video was helpful for you. This may help others too, so please consider sharing, and we will bring more videos in the future inshallah. So consider subscribing and you won't miss any. Jazakallahu khairan.